Kendra from Crafty Kendra, and today I'm going to show you how to make this card, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is bring in a 3" by 2" piece of Whisper White cardstock. And we're going to take the teddy bear stamp from the Teddy and Train stamp set. And we're going to stamp it on this piece of Whisper White in basic black ink. We're going to stamp it towards the right side of the piece of paper. And after we have him stamped, we're just going to set him aside to dry because the basic black takes a little bit longer to dry. Alright. The next thing we're going to do is bring in a 4" by 4" piece of Tempting Turquoise cardstock and our Tempting Turquoise ink pad and the ... background stamp. We're just going to ink up that stamp, stamp it towards the top of our piece of cardstock, and then what we're going to do is ink up our stamp again, and doing the best we can to line it up. It's easier if you look at it from the side. Just going to stamp it down. Those aren't close enough for me, so we're going to do it again. That's good for me. And we just need to worry about stamping the top half. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take my little alcohol bottle, and my alcohol bottle has rubbing alcohol and a few drops of Frost Shimmer paint in it. And I'm just going to spritz it. And you can already see that it gives it a little sparkle. Okay, and we're going to set that aside so it can dry. Next thing we're going to do is bring in another 3" by 2" piece of Whisper White cardstock. And we're also going to bring in the polka dotted frame, and this is from the 4 frames stamp set. And this is the sneak peek item for the 2011-2012 idea book and catalog. And today's the last day to get it, or you'll have to wait until July. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this frame in Tempting Turquoise onto this piece of Whisper White. Okay. And after we're done doing that, we're going to take this thanks stamp, and it comes from the Thank You Kindly stamp set, which has lots of great thank you greetings in there. So it's a great stamp set to have. And we're going to stamp that in Early Espresso. What we're going to do is we're going to use our Stampin' Up and our vellum sheet that already has it there to get it exactly where we want it. Just going to center the word thanks in the center of the oval. Bring our Stampin' Up to the vellum. Remove the vellum. Ink up our stamp. Straight down, straight up. And I'm going to do it twice just to make sure it gets really nice and dark. Okay. Then what we're going to do is bring in the decorative label punch, which coordinates with this 4 frame stamp set. We're just going to punch out that frame. Okay. And we're going to take this and set it aside. Next thing we're going to do is bring in a 4" by 1.5" piece of crumb cake cardstock, and using our Early Espresso ink and a sponge dauber, we're just going to sponge the edges of this piece of crumb cake. Okay, and set it aside. We're going to bring back in that teddy bear that we stamped earlier because he should be dry by now. And he is. And what we're going to do is, using our Stampin' Up markers, we're going to give him a little bit of life. First color we're going to bring in is going to be the Sahara Sand. And we're going to be using the brush tip for all of this. And you're just going to go in, and he has a little shadow right under his bottom. We're just going to color that shadow in with the Sahara Sand to kind of ground him. Going to bring in the crumb cake Stampin' Up marker, and we're just going to color in his body, and we're going to leave the pads of his feet and hands white right now because we're going to come in with soft suede and give those a little bit more definition. Okay, and if you just take your crumb cake and go back over some of those places where it has lots of dark drawings or it's a seam in him, it'll give him a little bit more 3D. Okay, now we're going to come in with that soft suede, color in the pads of his feet. Alright, for his little bow, I'm going to use Certainly Celery. Okay, and after I'm done coloring him in, I'm going to take my 3/16 inch corner rounder, and I'm just going to round these two right side corners. Okay, then I'm going to take and I'm just going to tear along the left side of this piece. Alright, just like that. Then I'm going to take my Early Espresso sponge dauber and just sponge the edges. Just lightly go over that ripped side. Set that aside. Next thing I'm going to do is bring in my card base, and my card base is Certainly Celery, and it measures 4 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch. Okay, and we're going to have it open so that the fold is at the top. What we're going to do is use our snail, and we're going to layer on a piece of wild wasabi, and this piece measures 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So just going to run some adhesive on the back of that. Center it onto the front of our card base. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is bring in our Early Espresso and our sponge dauber one more time. And this is a 4 inch by 4 inch piece of Whisper White, and we're just going to sponge the edges of it with our Early Espresso ink. to take it, flip it over and put some snail on it. And it's going to go on the inside of our card. Okay, we're going to set our card base aside. I'm going to bring back in that Tempting Turquoise piece that we stamped and sprayed. And we're just going to flatten it out a little bit because getting it wet with that alcohol ink tends to curl the page just a bit. I'm going to bring in that crumb cake piece that we sponged. I'm just going to run some snail on it. And it is going to go flush along the bottom of this piece of Tempting Turquoise. Just like that. Then what we're going to do is bring in about a 6-inch piece of Pear Pizzazz poly stitch ribbon. Just going to run some snail across the back of it, center it onto this piece of crumb cake, press it down, tuck the tails behind. I'm going to take our little thanks greeting and put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it. I like to put one in each corner. You can put as many as you're comfortable with. And I like to put it towards the left side. Just like that. I'm going to take our teddy bear, flip him over, and add a little snail to the back. I like to keep him more towards the right. Okay. And then since we have this ribbon on the back here and it pops it up a little bit, I'm actually going to attach it to my card base using mini glue dots. I'm just going to put some on the back here. If you wanted more dimension, you could use dimensionals. I just like to use mini glue dots when I use this ribbon. Okay, I'm going to bring back in that card base and making sure that my fold is at the top. Just going to center this panel onto my card base. And there we go. A quick, easy thank you card, and these just happen to be my thank you cards for my baby shower. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks.